At one of my shows a few days ago, a child asked me how I pulled candy out of my hat. As a joke, I told the kid that the hat has a built-in wish-granting machine. So I told them another white lie. The machine needs time to power up, but in the meantime, you can write your wishes down. Well, they took me up on that offer, enthusiastically. As I write this, I've only just got back from running around all over town, buying the things they wanted. Boy, are my legs sore. I wound up saving very little this month, but that's not a major issue. I now have a bigger problem. How am I going to hide all these things inside my hat? Two children came to talk to me after today's show. I don't know why they were out on their own. Anyway, they said that they wanted me to teach them how to do magic. It's not uncommon. I told them that learning magic is very hard work, but that didn't faze them at all. It seems like something's bothering Lorenzo lately, but he won't open up to... Surely he's not upset that I agreed to teach those two children. I'll have to talk him around. I have a good feeling about those kids. They're naturally talented, and it seems like they're not new to the world of magic. They have all sorts of fantastic ideas. All I'm really doing is help. They wanted to call me Master, but I told them they absolutely mustn't. Any magician worth their salt could have taught them what I have. They're the geniuses here. Compared to them, I don't deserve to be called any sort of master. With time, I have no doubt that they could become far greater magicians than I. My only concern is why Gemma thinks so too. She doesn't like being around
I've been
them.
following the
Says that their eyes are too piercing.
next birthday.
They don't.
Have you seen part 7 yet?
Yes.
Shauna, hi, you're married to different people.
Yeah. I did see that one. There's something happening here.
It's nearly time for me to go on tour. I asked the two. I once overheard them. It's only been 10 days since I first met them. But they're very tough, but also very cautious. They hide things from me too. That's the thing about children. Whenever they're trying to cover something up, I can sense that their lives have been hard. Possibly even dangerous after thinking things over. I decided to tell them a bit about how I see the world. It's full of lies and falsehoods. And P.S. I hope they won't find my nagging annoying. Children are so P.P.S. Maybe I'm overthinking this. Oh, Caesar, Caesar. Just mind your own business next time.
Two magic geniuses with a father and a mission, huh? Sounds a lot like he was writing about Lyney and Lynette, don't you? So did they meet Caesar when they were
Did you hear what she said?
I don't know.
Someone posted on her post the other day that your husband wanted a trophy wife, but he just got a participation certificate instead.
Lyney?
Shh, hold that thought. As I expected,
Fishy?
all in good time. Before we go over our new leads, I want to tell you how a high-altitude escape is performed. First, the magician slots themselves into a magic box in full view of the audience. The box is then suspended high in the air, and a short while later, the base automatically opens. At this point, a dummy will fall out of the box, but it looks real enough to grab the audience's attention, and they start wailing and screaming. Meanwhile, the real magician, who has by now blended into the crowd, waits for a good moment to make their appearance and put on a hysterical performance. Oh no! Is that me? Did I just fall to my death?
very vivid description. Paimon can really...
The audience's gaze then turns to the magician, and by the time they realize what's happened, of course, that's just how I think the process should work, theoretically. The inventor of this trick never performed it successfully. When the box opened, Caesar was the one who fell out, and not the dummy. He fell right to the ground from the highest point of the opera house. No one could hope to survive that fall. Not without a vision, at least. And no one else has ever attempted this trick since. My understanding of how it works is just based on...
So Caesar's famous high-altitude escape has never been done? Paimon was about to say how cool it would have been to see it in person, but... Wait a second. So if a dummy's supposed to drop out of the box, then where does the real magician go?
Glad you asked. That brings us to the secret of said box. This box right here is the one that Caesar constructed himself to use in the performance. And it's not as simple as it looks. Inside, there's a device that only the magician himself would know about. Once the magician's inside, and the box is lifted up into the air, the audience's view of the box is fixed. From where they're standing, they have a clear view of the front, sides, and bottom, but the back and the top are now no longer visible. At this point, the magician presses a button inside the box, opening a secret door out of view. He then escapes through this trapdoor onto the opera house roof, waits for the dummy to fall and distract the audience, and quietly returns to ground level.
That's way simpler than Paimon imagined.
Well, there's a little more to it than that, of course. The hardest part of this trick is controlling the audience's mood and reactions. That takes an exceptional degree of... There's the falling dummy, the miraculous reappearance, the pompous performing. Maybe the magician would even have themselves tied up before it begins. To strength, many days and nights of careful research and painstaking practice would have gone into this, all culminating in a performance just a few minutes long, but one that Caesar was a highly accomplished magician.
So, how did it go so wrong?
I can make a pretty good... I looked into the case files. The magic box Caesar was using at the time of his death had the secret button I mentioned positioned on the right-hand side. And, sure enough, he always used his right hand as his dominant hand in public.
Okay.
But here's the strange thing. Most of the devices in this workshop have the mechanism on the left-hand side, including this box right here, which leads me to believe that Caesar was in fact left-handed. Because a magician can't afford to have their most basic habits stand out too much. People naturally focus their attention on the most important details of the task or situation at hand. But a magician needs to be able to redirect an audience's attention at will, so as to avoid arousing their suspicion. The essence of magic is getting people to believe a lie. If even the truth raises eyebrows, the falsehoods become all the more difficult to mask. And so, Caesar trained himself to use his right hand to align with his audience's expectations. Great magic always requires sacrifices. But in his most stressful and nerve-wracking moments, and when no one was watching, reflex would kick in and he'd use his left hand. That's why he set his gadgets with the mechanism on his left. Exactly. I think that's likely what happened. Caesar would have been under a lot of time pressure during the escape. He'd have had mere seconds to open the hidden compartment, retrieve the dummy, then open the secret door and make a swift... But I'm sure he was confident. He would have rehearsed countless times to the point where it was second nature. So he opened the compartment, took out the dummy, checked everything was in order, and then went to leave. With his left hand, he reached for the button, and suddenly, his heart skipped a beat. It wasn't there. Much like when you reach for your keys but find your pocket empty, instinctively, his left hand would keep feeling around for the missing button. With the stakes being as high as they were, just a 2-second delay cost him everything.
When in reality, someone switched the boxes, and they did it to murder him. But how would they be able to make the switch without being noticed? That would be different.
It would have to have been someone who knew that he was left-handed, and who... Isn't that right, Lorenzo?
You just couldn't let sleeping dogs lie, could you? There's not a lot of people who'd go to all this trouble for some magician who died 10 years ago. I didn't want to have to do this, you know. Silencing you the hard way just creates more problems but I gave you your chance. I hoped you'd do what's good for you and back off like the lady, but...
You mean Gemma? So you
Yes, although however stubborn she might be, she was never much of a liability. But you people, which is why you can't leave this place alive. Take them out, and make it quick.
It's fleshy, but it's not. They can't spawn outside of it.
Judgment!
Only the team.
Out of the frying pan!
Lights out.
Everybody stand back! Incinerate! Inadmissible evidence!
Here comes the finale. Step right up.
Did it on purpose.
Had enough yet, Lorenzo? I think it's high time you started talking.
If I had a Mora for every time you said that man's name. Of course you idolized Caesar, everyone else did. But I was the real genius magician. Me, he was just an amateur who did cheap tricks for gullible children. I was the one who made magic into the fine art it is today. The aristocrats doffed their hats to me!
So it was jealousy.
Jealousy. Hatred, more like. I hated Caesar. All he cared about was his magic. He lived and breathed it. He poured everything into his street performances and his stupid tours like it was just a hobby to him, never bothering to think about Mora. What sort of fool devotes their life to the art of deception and never has a Mora to show for it? But the people loved him, didn't they? Oh, how they looked up to him. No one gave me a second look. All I ever heard was, "Oh, your master's amazing, isn't he?" Amazing. Yeah, so amazing that he was completely broke. Every other apprentice was living it up at their master's expense, but no, not me. I put in all the work, mastered all the skills, and it brought me nothing more than the life I already had. He forbade me from using magic to trick people out of their Mora. There was nothing he hated more than that. And with his reputation in Fontaine, it was too risky for me to go it alone. As long as he was alive, if I dabbled in my own brand of money-making magic, he would expose me, and it would destroy me. I had to kill him. There was no other way. He had to go.
And this was your only...
It was reason enough. What other motive would I need?
Well, I was under the impression that there might have been other factors at play. For instance, maybe you were in love with Gemma, but she was engaged to Caesar.
In love with Gemma? Don't be
Guess I was wrong about that then.
I am. Caesar was so strict with me. He insisted that I never bought into any of that. I was more interested in the practical value of magic. Sure enough, it helped me fill my pockets with all kinds of...
Oh, yeah! Charlotte told us that the weasel would...
That's just how it looked from the outside. What would any thief want with I stole cheap things as a way of practicing my craft? It was other people's overactive imaginations.
So, that's the story, huh?
What choice do I have? You're a pack of wolves, and you've got me between your jaws. So be it. I've enjoyed power and wealth for the last 10 years. The likes of which seized...
Very well. In that case, Traveler, Paimon, keep an eye on Lorenzo for me. I'll meet you just outside the workshop when I'm back.
Lyney has told me the whole story. Lorenzo, do you confess to the murder of Caesar and to framing him?
Look who's finally developed a conscience. What kind of disciple murders their own master? I hope it was worth it, because there'll be hell to pay.
Looks like it's all over. What should we do next, Lenny? Should we start?
Let's rendezvous with Lynette and Gemma first. With
Good point. We should go tell.
Ah, you're back. You were so quick. I've only just been.
You're third? Lynette, come on, we've talked about this. Everything in moderation. You're not gonna have any room left.
It's fine. I'll shift to exercise mode and jog off the excess sugar.
That's besides the point. Well, it's done now. But try to eat a more balanced diet in the future.
Point taken.
Did everything go okay?
Of course.
Gosh, that's amazing. I had my suspicions about Lorenzo, but
It's okay. We understand, but you don't need to be scared.
Sorry. Sorry. My emotions are all over the place right now. I've been waiting for this day to come for so long. I always wanted to report Lorenzo. He took all of Caesar's property, which I found suspicious. But I had people watching me. I was so afraid. I was scared he'd do. Thank you all.
Thank you all for clearing Caesar's name. I never would have guessed that Lorenzo was the real Phantom Weasel. He never showed any signs that there were problems between him and Caesar in public. To think that lowlife's been lit. At least his soul can finally rest in peace.
If only I'd realized.
Don't blame yourself, Gemma.
Yeah, you still have the rest of your life to live. Caesar.
Cheer up, Gemma. My brother's doing a magic show at the Opera House tomorrow evening. Would you like to come? This show will be a special one. We're holding it in Caesar's honor.
In Caesar's honor?
Great. We'll see you tomorrow evening. Traveler, Paimon, don't be late.
Don't worry, we'll be there. No way are we gonna miss out on a free magic show. Wait, Paimon feels like we're forgetting something. Oh yeah, Caesar's diary! We never found out if the two kids Caesar taught magic to were Lyney and Lynette or not.
We're getting a live-action Hercules.
Lyney's magic shows! Wait. Lynette,
Not this time. My brother's going solo today. So, I'll be watching with you.
Sorry.
Good
I'm
evening,
really
ladies
excited.
and gentlemen. I hope everybody's ready because the show is about to
Loki
begin.
is going to be Hades.
Love that.
The great magician Lyney
He
has
gets to
prepared a
play two
spectacular
gods and
show
that
for
makes
us
me
all tonight,
happy.
concluding with an all-new grand finale that no audience has
I need
ever
a
seen.
smash.
Thank you all so much for coming. Now, prepare to join me on a journey through the mystical and miraculous.
Exciting stuff, isn't it?
Yes, it's just... It reminds me of him.
no wonder. Caesar was a famous magician too. So, how did...
Well, children love magic because they're willing to believe in things that can't be rationally explained. And somehow, I felt drawn to...
Aw, that sounds...
It was with a flower. He took it in his hand, snapped his fingers, and it magically appeared on my head. I was so happy that day. No one had ever given me a flower before that.
Oh, that's so cute!
Is that right? Then I suppose he's a romantic at heart, just like Caesar. So let's treasure the time we have with him. After all, you never know when the people dearest to you might be gone.
That's right. It's all over now. Paimon doesn't really know how to comfort you, but at the very least, no one's gonna be intimidating you from now on. You can breathe easy at last, right?
Right.
Shadow Defeater still
Yes, you can breathe easy now.
Reprising his original role.
See? Even Lynette says... Wait, what? The Phantom Weasel? Lorenzo escaped? Where is he?
What do you mean?
As Lyney once said, a performer's job is to commit fully to their role. But once the bag of tricks is empty and the curtain falls, it's time to end the show. The spotlight is no place. It's been 10 years, Gemma. Aren't you tired of the grieving widow act? I think it's time to put an end to it.
What are you talking about? Traveler, Paimon doesn't like where this is going.
Ladies and gentlemen, there will now be a brief intermission, after which the final performance will take place outside of the Opera House. So please make...
The Phantom Weasel never did like public places, did they? Don't worry, this place will be quiet soon. Let's talk somewhere else for now.
Dear me, this is awkward, isn't it? And unfortunately, I'm all out of gadgets, so I'm afraid I can't do any tricks to liven up the mood. This is a big mistake for a magician to make, but thankfully...
Lyney? Don't Lynette accuse Gemma of being the real Phantom Weasel.
All in good time. Magicians are good at guessing what people are...
Really?
Let's go back to the very beginning. A decade ago, when the Phantom Weasel was terrorizing the court of Fontaine. She never missed a target, never left a trace, and no treasure was safe from her thieving hands. But as her infamy grew, so did the readiness of the police, and her opportunities to act became ever fewer. Every day, she ran the risk of being exposed for who she was. Of course, she could not simply take this lying down, and before long, she found her ticket to freedom. She would create a scapegoat, a false weasel to close the chapter on her behalf. After weighing her options, she set her sights on a renowned magician, Caesar. After all, magic and theft shared enough similarity.
So,
being the master deceiver she was, the weasel easily earned Caesar's trust. Now, all that remained was to frame him for her countless crimes. But as she was considering how to make her move, she noticed Caesar's aggrieved pupil, and a new thought entered her mind. Maybe I don't need to get my hands dirty after all. At her encouragement, Lorenzo tampered with Caesar's magic box, causing him to fall to his death. Afterwards, Lorenzo seized his master's property, and the weasel set about tarnishing Caesar's reputation. Two co-conspirators committed the perfect crime.
I've got to hand it to you. You're both exceptional storytellers. It's enough to make even me wonder whether there was really another mastermind behind all this, pulling the strings. But I just have one question. You seem to think that I am the villain in this tale. What's brought this on, Lyney? Is it something that Lorenzo said?
Don't worry, Lorenzo said, but I never believed that he was the weasel. And in fact, my investigation only made me more certain of that.
How disappointing. So you'd sooner trust Lorenzo than me? Even without a shred of evidence?
A magician is an expert at playing the audience to get the result they want. And I have no doubt that you, Gemma, are equally talented in this regard. With a little help from Lorenzo, you put on a very convincing performance. The lovesick fiancé, whose devotion to her betrothed is unshakable, even under threats of violence. Caesar was maligned and hated by all for 10 years, but you? Who would suspect for 1 second that the lovely young lady always seen weeping in front of Caesar's grave was actually the mastermind behind his demise? No, not that poor lady. Perish the thought.
Wait, so you mean the whole... But why would Lorenzo agree to that? And why didn't he sell her out even at the end instead of a...
Yes, why indeed? Maybe Gemma herself could enlighten us on that question.
Well, Lyney, if you're so confident in your version of events, then I think the answer should be obvious. Having killed Caesar with his own hands, Lorenzo was plagued by overwhelming guilt. Revealing the Phantom Weasel's true identity would serve no purpose. But if the Weasel remained free, then she could take care of Lorenzo's loved ones.
An excellent answer.
Is that right? Well, don't let me bore you. If you'd care to change the topic to something more interesting, I'd be much obliged.
As a matter of fact, there's one. Why would the real weasel have targeted things that only have value to...
Of course. After all, we're just telling stories here, aren't we? If I had to guess, I would say that the real weasel must have had a terrible childhood. Left to fend for herself after her parents died young. Betrayed, scorned, beaten. She'd scrounge waste paper from garbage bins to draw on, using twigs and dirt for lack of ink and pen. She'd sew ugly ragdolls from whatever scrap material she could get her hands on. This was her only source of happiness in life. But it was all she needed. Once again, she was betrayed. And this time, everything was taken from her. She felt like life. This was a fate too cruel for anyone to bear. Her pain became a breeding ground for dark thoughts. I detest the happiness of others, in all its forms alike. I will rob them of everything they hold to be good and true. And it will fill the void in my...
That's some...
Does this story satisfy?
Yes, it is quite to my tastes. Thank you for helping to clear...
Huh. That's right. What drove you to write that? Because without that, none of this would have ever...
She didn't write the letter.
After 10 long years, I'd hoped that the Phantom Weasel would be consigned to the history books by now. But it seems like someone still wasn't ready to let her finally be at peace, Lyney. Or should I call you the Phantom Copycat now? You were the one who posted that letter outside the Opera House. But why?
Very sharp, Phantom Weasel. Well, no need for me to be coy about it. The most straightforward way to change the public's impression of Caesar was to force the Weasel to show themselves. Of course we did. We made it quite clear in the letter, I believe. I shall take from you that which you hold most dear, just as you did to me 10 years ago.
10 years ago? You mean Caesar's death?
I know I shouldn't.
You met him? Wait.
Okay.
Oh, I get it. You were those two obnoxious kids. It's been so long, and you're all grown up now. I didn't recognize you. He taught you magic back then, didn't he? For what, 10 days or something? And you went to all this trouble. Why?
We remember all our debts. However, 10 years ago, Caesar's reputation was torn to shreds, but we did not forget.
And? What exactly did you take from me?
Free? Caesar once told me that even though the world... I think that applies to you too. Truth can take many forms. Life took many things from you, and those wounds never healed.
What are you trying to say?
I'm saying that for the last 10 years, you've been living a rather uneventful life. Perhaps let's be back to Lorenzo for a second. He knew who you were and the things you'd done, and despite that, you're more than just accomplices in murder. You're the only real friends each other has. But that truth is gone now, and I guarantee you'll never see it again.
Congratulations on your freedom, Gemma.
Your freedom will cost you dearly. From now on, you'll be all alone in a world full of lies and falsehoods. I do hope you'll be able to bear it. You've still got a long life ahead of you, after all.
Gather around, one and all. The time has... I'm sure you're all wondering what he has planned.
A high-altitude escape?
I'm sure you all remember the magician Caesar. This was the very trick that led to his... We have now learned that Caesar was wrongly accused, and that the real...
Guess that's my cue to leave. Whew. Traveler, Paimon, I hope you enjoy the rest of the show. There may be a lot of people watching tonight, but you alone are my true witnesses.
Lyney, wait. You two hid a lot from Caesar. He went to his grave without ever knowing your secrets. You don't have to tell lies to end up isolated and alone.
You're wrong. I'm nothing like you.
So,
Like Lyney said, when you're ready, let's head outside and watch the show.
but what about Gemma?
She'll figure out what's best for her soon enough. Oh, and if you'd like to see Lyney after the show...
All right. Well...
Magic should be mysterious, surprising, and defy logic. Magic is hard work. Every single movement has to be practiced thousands of times.
It's alright. We're used to that.
We're sorry. You've taught us so much, but we can't tell you the whole truth.
It's okay. Do you still remember what I told you? This world is full of lies and falsehoods. I only hope that one day you can find your own truth.
What about you? Have you found your truth?
Magic is my truth. I want to perform a magic trick so great that people will always think of me when they talk about it. For a magician, what greater honor could there be?
Look! Behold! Lyney is sealed inside the box. Will he manage to escape? 10 years ago, Caesar attempted this very trick, and it was at this precise moment that...
Mysterious. Surprising. And logic-defying. Isn't that right? This honor belongs to you, Caesar. I'm just sorry it's a little late.
Did you see that? 1 minute he was falling, and the next, he turned into flowers.
How could he possibly have done that?
How mysterious. I didn't blink once. He just vanished right in front of my eyes.
What a heart-stopping magic show! This was really worth the trip. Caesar's name has finally been cleared, and Fontaine's new star magician Lyney has fulfilled a wish on his behalf. Oh, I couldn't ask for a better grand finale. It will make a great headline for the Steambird tomorrow, even if I do say so myself.
Whew. Looks like everyone really loved Lyney's grand finale. Paimon doesn't see Lyney anywhere. Where? Oh, Lynette said he'd be waiting for us
Yeah.
at the usual hunt. But, where is that?
But yeah, I figured she needs the water.
Oh, you mean the one where... Yeah, that's Alright, let's go look for...